I don't think you should go running out and apologizing to Danny.
Aunt Maida,
Please.
Okay. I love you so much, and I really appreciate your advice. But this is something...
Because there's a lot more where that came from. And you're going to listen.
Okay, but can we make it quick, please?
No. No, we can't, so you might as well sit down. Your father told me that even when you were a little girl, you liked to take care of people. And animals, you were always bringing home a kitten or a puppy. A rabbit once. You nearly took your finger off.
Aunt Maida, what are you getting at here?
Danny is very different. Significantly different from anyone you have known in your whole life. Not because he was raised with more or less money, not because he was raised with more or less education, but it was because he was the way he was raised.
I know that Danny's family isn't exactly all-American pie.
He's very well-spoken. He has lovely manners. You heard him say you're loved. But in this case, none of that counts.
Of course it does.
No. Because no matter how nice Danny is to grandmothers and children and little dogs and cats, he was raised to be ruthless. He was raised to be the kind of man his mother groomed him for. What would your life be like with him?
We could make whatever kind of life we wanted to make. He can change.
Tell you what, why don't we make a compromise? You forget about Danny for tonight.
I can't. I have
Just
to
for
go.
tonight. Stay here, sleep in your own bed. Tomorrow you can look at the situation with a fresh point of view. I'm not guaranteeing you'll have a good night's sleep, but at least you'll have a chance to think through your options one more time.
All right, I guess one night can't do too much damage, huh?
That's my girl. We'll talk in the morning.
Okay. Sure. In the morning.
And Holly took my daughter without my knowledge, yeah, but I realized that Holly would never hurt Tammy. Because Holly truly cared about Tammy, just like she cared about the rest of the children that she took to the cabin. I mean, she thought she was giving them a better life.
She wanted to give them what she thought would be a better life. You know, things we failed to give them. She misguided, to be sure, but I think if there's the first person who would have forgiven her, who would have understood what had driven her to such a desperate place, would be my wife. Jenna understood about compassion and about second chances. She'd made a few wrong turns herself, and I don't even want to get into the mistakes I've made.
Your Honor, we all make mistakes. Look at me. I gave up a baby for adoption when I was pretty much still a baby myself, and in a moment of total desperation, I stole that child back from her parents. But I was very lucky. My little girl's parents were wonderful people, and they forgave me. And I think this court should offer Holly that same consideration, because when a woman has suffered the loss of a child...
I mean, any woman who's lost a child knows exactly what Holly's been going through. I mean, for over 5 years, I was without my own children. I mean, it was longer than 5 years, and they're 5 years that I can never get back, and it was like part of my soul had been ripped away, and it made me desperate, as desperate as Holly, maybe even more so. I didn't act on my pain in the same way Holly did, but you know, when it's all said and done, we're all on common ground.
Mom, I know you feel that you've failed as a mother, and that I have grown up to be exactly like you, and that I'm doomed to make the same mistakes you've made. And maybe I am. But Mom, I love you with all my heart. And when I was growing up, you were the only constant. And I know that you did the best that you could. So maybe I do have some of your weaknesses, but I also have your strengths. And I believe in the good in you. Your Honor, she is a good person. And please give her another chance. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. That is all. Will we be hearing from anyone else this evening, Mr. Marler?
No, Your Honor.
Why didn't anyone call me?
Mr. Warren, thank you for joining us this evening.
My pleasure, Your Honor. I'm sure you know that if Holly Reed not only kidnapped several children, she also stalked and terrorized several citizens in this room.
And your point, Mr. Warren?
Well, my point is, Your Honor, that I, too, was one of the victims, and I think it's only fair that you hear my story as well.
You can't do this, Ben. You're angry at me, and you cannot take it out on my mother.
Your Honor, I'd like to point out this witness was not called by the prosecution or the defense.
Normally, I would take it under consideration. But this is a pre-trial hearing, and I would like to hear from any victim who has a different perspective. After all, we're here for one reason, to determine exactly what your client should be charged with. Go ahead, Mr. Warren. We will hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I knew this would have happened.
What the hell is he doing?
He's angry at me. I threw him out.
Mr. Warren, you told us earlier that you were a victim of Holly Reed's. Perhaps you'd like to tell us what happened.
Oh, with pleasure, Your Honor. One night I came home to my apartment and found a bottle of brandy on my doorstep. I thought it was a gift, but it was laced with a poison that almost knocked me unconscious. I tried to revive myself in the shower, but I collapsed unconscious into the tub. And if it wasn't for a timely visit from my friend, Blake Marler, I wouldn't be here today. She saved my life. Later on, we found a note. It was exactly the same kind of note delivered to each and every victim. It was a nursery rhyme.
Is that all, Mr. Warren?
No. No, not quite, Your Honor. After all I've been through, I need you to know that, like Holly Reed, I know what it's like to have your life ripped away from you. I know what it's like to have people turn away and abandon you. All right? But I also know that if there is love, and I mean real love, real understanding, there is always the chance that those people will come back before you can lose hope. Now, just because somebody acts badly or even dangerously doesn't mean they're going to do it again. And so I'm here to sincerely hope that you will offer this opportunity to Mrs. Reed. Because, Your Honor, isn't that why we come to the courts? Isn't that why we come to the law? To seek counsel, to seek fairness? And above all, a second chance. Everybody deserves that.
I was always concerned about our differences, age and otherwise, and I tried so many times to explain it to you, but you never wanted to hear it. You didn't. And you always seemed to have an answer. And the answer, I suppose, I desperately wanted to hear.
Contessa.
I don't want you to feel sorry for me.
I feel sorry for the guy who lost you. And I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't glad to hear that you didn't belong to anybody but yourself. Because tonight I want you to belong to me.
You always made me feel so special, like nothing in the world mattered except us.
It's on.
back downstairs. Did you find Drew?
No, I forgot I had to do some things before he closed up.
Let me guess, she's so mad she doesn't want to talk to anybody.
She doesn't want to talk to me, okay? She doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Well, to hell with that.
Look, you can't, Selena, okay?
Oh.
I'm sorry. Look, she's got company.
The guy's up there with her? And you walked in on them?
Well, practically. You didn't, Selena. It just never occurred to me.
It never occurred to you? In a million years that someone else could find you interesting?
Forget about seeing Danny tonight. Stay here. Sleep in your own bed. Take another look at the situation after a night's sleep.
Hello?
Danny knows about the FBI.
It's a good thing I was on the line.
Did you hear what I said? Danny knows that I set him up. I told him.
You know, this is not a good time for me. This isn't a good time. I can't talk.
Drew, I know that it's late, okay? But you are really the only person around here who understands this whole thing about Danny. He didn't take it like I thought he would at all. He sent me home with my family. He was so hurt.
Maybe it's for the best.
I mean, now that he knows what I did, I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm really scared, Drew.
You know, I just can't talk right now. I have to go.
Drew, I need to talk to you. Drew?
God, what is wrong with me?
Drew, come on. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, I'm just like any slut on the street, only I have more cash in the bank.
Stop. Stop. Okay? I think we both know why why tonight happened. Right? But it has to stay between us. And it will. Nobody's ever going to hear about this from me. Okay? I promise.
Thanks.
All right. Good. I'll see you later.
The state is moved by the fact that all of you have come forward on behalf of Mrs. Reed today. But unfortunately, the sympathy expressed in this room has come well after the fact. This is about criminal behavior, stalking, terrorizing, and the kidnapping of 9 innocent children. And the fact that Mrs. Reed is repentant is hardly a surprise. Most guilty defendants are. I only have a few salient points to make. First, Mrs. Spaulding, how did it feel when you received the poisoned gift basket? Must have been terrifying, wasn't it?
Yes, it certainly was. But the point I tried to make before is that there wasn't enough poison in the apple.
Mrs. Lane, I can't imagine that reading your own obituary was amusing. And then to have your daughter snatched away from you, kidnapped and taken into a cabin in the woods?
I told you. I knew that Holly wouldn't hurt her.
And you, Mr. Cooper, you suffered the loss of your wife. The mother of your children. Isn't it true that if Mrs. Reed had come forward sooner to turn herself in, that Jenna might still be alive today? And you, Miss Shane, your son was taken, along with your niece. Your sister was pregnant when she was terrorized. Imagine that this woman wasn't a friend, but a stranger with an equally troubled history. Would you still be begging for leniency? I mean, the fact that all of you considered Holly Reed a friend only makes her crimes that much more diabolical. You trusted her. You thought that she was somebody you could count on, and yet she victimized each and every one of you. Mr. Warren, you gave a lovely speech about forgiveness, but you openly confessed to a friendship with the defendant's daughter. And it goes without saying that Blake Marlowe would say anything on defense of her mother. But this isn't about love or friendship. This is about crimes, felonies, and this case should and must go to trial on at least 32 counts.
That is not true, Your Honor. Nobody here knows what's happened to Holly, and I'm the only person who can really tell you. Please, let me speak.